Wariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day. What's wrong? Keiichi, you don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? It seemed my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday, I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Yeah, it's possible to save at any time, but what I mean by save points is, good breaks in the story, or decision points, or somewhere that would make you want to save. So far, there's only been chapter breaks, really. And I don't know why you'd need that many save spots. Because there just aren't that many decision points or anything like that. Without a doubt, I felt a presence. I felt the presence of someone standing in front of the door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination and forced myself to try to sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. A cat purring on shoulder. That's good. Or maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be cold. I don't really have an appetite. My, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school? Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. It wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than I usually met up with Reina. It was Reina. Reina-chan came to get you. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the day off? Reina was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. And by no means was she scary. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Reina's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been my cold. It just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry. Then I'll go send her off for you. Mom headed off to the door. I would have had to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Reina, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep-deprived, I quickly fell into a deep slumber. I had only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table, I found lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. Oh, good parents! Leave their sick kid behind! It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They would probably be back sometime after dinner. On the note, it said, "The insurance card's in the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital." There's also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right. I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, and just in case, went to the hospital. And yeah, Reina going, "Cute, I'm taking it home," kinda has a whole new meaning, doesn't it? Well, normally I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital sign came into view. Ira Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. I must be making a mint. Yeah, Keiichi sending out all the death flags here. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen.
Mibara-san, please make your way to the examination room.
After promptly answering all the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." They gave me a shot and 3 days' worth of medicine. Thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear the way gloomy feeling I'd been having lately, then it was worth it. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. That's kinda depressing. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping, if it wasn't just for that word. Must have been an Onikakushi. I wonder. She was still pretty young. Might have just eloped. With whom? The man from Tokyo who visits every season. The young one with the big camera. Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well? Were they talking about Tomitake-san? I could feel my ears perking up. I don't know about that, but you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit their job or something. It's an elopement because I didn't leave a note or message. The thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Tanako-san is an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes. So her name was Tanako-san. That woman with Tomitake-san. And she worked at this clinic? Oh, Yashiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Oyashiro-sama's shadow. But of course, Oyashiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Maybe because it was Maybe because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. Might as well buy a snack with the change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned onto a familiar street. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far in the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved farther off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved. Mibara-san! Good day to you! It was Uishi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me. What's up today? School on break? Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. I was about to buy lunch and head home. That's great! I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together? If you're not feeling up for it, then don't mind me. I'm just going to pump you for information. I was just going to lie down after going home anyway. And I didn't really have a cold. I doubt you'd want to eat at one of those local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive, is that alright? I know a pretty good place. I finally began to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. Yeah, the fact that the fact that his potential girlfriend, at least the one that seems like the most likely girlfriend, seems to have something, a second personality, residing spirit, something buried deep inside of her that's decided to come out, make its presence known, and scare you to death. Also, you have a hard time moving in its presence. You should probably consider that this may be unhealthy for you to stick around. I'm just saying. I went with Luigi-san riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie. I'm sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry at you? Nah. I recalled Raina, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the road connecting the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with the sudden realization. I could be free now if I wanted. All I would have to do was say I didn't want to go back home. I could be free from the spirit of Hinamizawa. That's right. This was where Tomotaki-san died. They've hit a snag in the investigation regarding Tomotaki-san. Oishi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye. They believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat. But a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads. You know that thing you see in comics all the time? Where there's a drug that if you put it in them, it doesn't leave any traces? It exists. I have no Sukinilcol. Something or other. It's pretty common. But you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Tomotaki-san to react like this. Then you're saying the police concluded Tomotaki-san just died from the curse. Couldn't help but feel the police were worthless. But that's none of my business. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be dissociated from Tomotaki-san's mysterious death. Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now. But putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt, he was surrounded by a group of people and had taken a beating before he died. That was no curse, but an incident that unquestionably involved other humans. That made me a bit relieved. We passed in front of the rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamizawa train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot, and I followed Oishi-san into the shop. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course there wouldn't be children in here in the middle of a weekday. 2, please. Non-smoking. This way, please. When you're ready to order, please call me over. We were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Oishi-san in the booth. Oishi, did you take him to a Hooters? So what do you think? Aren't the waitress's outfits here cute? You took him to Hooters! Didn't you? Huh? Well, I guess. This shop is always quite busy. It's more about the waitresses and the food, you see. Hooters. It's Hooters. Uh-huh. Oishi-san, you're leering. Huh? Am I really? Dude takes us to Hooters. That even kind of looks like a plate of hot wings on the right. Regardless of how the waitresses looked, the food was decent enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Oishi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table. Yesterday, we talked about Hinamizawa's past, didn't we? Yeah, that it was a village of man-eating demons or something like that. I've never actually been to Hooters. Just never been. I didn't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning. Oishi-san took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket. Turns out Hinazawa used to be called Onikakushi, or Ogre's Abyss. Onikakushi? That's quite the name. That sounds like an amazing time, actually. Going with a bunch of gay guys to a Hooters. Yeah, that would be kind of entertaining at the very least. Although if I want wings, we have a place called Wingstop that serves really, really good wings. So, I don't even have that excuse for wanting to go to a Hooters. The name is still around. The marsh where the Shinto priest's wife drowned herself is still called Ogre's Abyss. It's said that the depths of that marsh connect to the realm of demons. Of course, nobody told me anything about such an ominous marsh. And you see, it appears that they were both feared and revered. A respect born of fear. I guess you could say there was kind of a deification. A village of inhuman creatures. Seems the demons were seinen, or mountain-dwelling mystics of sorts. Taking villagers with incurable illnesses into the ogre's abyss and healing them, for example. Even if we're calling them demons, Tengu, long-nosed goblins, or seinen would be a more apt description. They don't seem like such terrible people, even though they were called demons. But they were still man-eating demons, according to the story my grandma told me, as payment for treating the son's illness. Let us eat the mother who brought him here, was apparently how things went. The price of curing her son was herself? That's unsettling. Of course, the mother took her son and ran. Then, you see, all the people who lived in Onikakushi, the demons chased them down, rounded them up, and captured them. The entire village, apparently. That's quite a frightening thing to imagine. Bow, 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 bow. Oh no? Okay. In the end, it seems both mother and son were caught and eaten. The end. There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in the story were eaten, so nobody would be able to tell the tale. Huh? There are plenty of old fables like this. In contrast with the ghastly tale, Uishi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee. But, well, there are quite a few other tales, where the demons from Onikakushi band together to capture their prey. I recall that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped. Normally they hunted down a single person, and they chose who was going to be beforehand. I'm having flashbacks to a game of zombie tag now. Huh? That caught my attention. Uishi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant. My grandmother told me that you must never interfere with the demon's hunt. You should just hole up in your house and hide under the covers, she said. So, what does this all mean? It means you must never help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. It seems there's that kind of rule. Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you don't see the atrocities. In other words, what happens if you break the rule? Well, they're man-eating demons after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the perpetrators were all the village families. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die when there's the group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak it. Then, Uishi-san. I guess it looks like it's either the village families or a group of villagers perpetrating the crimes. What do you think, Maebara-san? Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please. That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say that last part. I waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking. Last year, I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared. Uishi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his coffee. So those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, Maebara-san, I had a bit, really, just a little bit, okay, of background checking done on them. If Uishi-san had said this to me before, I would have been furious since he told me earlier not to suspect my friends. But as I was now, I couldn't. This might sound pretty stupid. Maebara-san, if you feel that it's stupid, please say so. I'll just stop. Uishi-san was wearing the most serious expression I'd ever seen from him. You know, this cop may be vulgar, but I think he's on the level. I'm just saying, I think the cop is on the level. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Uishi-san. But none of them were as threatening as this. A little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This was probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. I'm gonna die horribly! Please. That was all I could utter. Uishi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began. The victim of the incident in the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mion Sonozaki-san. Multiple altercations. Uishi-san had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up. In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? They had a daughter. Her name is Satoko Hoju-san. Huh? Satoko, meaning Satoko? Uishi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized this as well and quickly quieted down. The Shinto priest and his wife who died in the third year. You see, their daughter is Rika Furuta-san. Rika-chan was the housewife who died in the fourth year. You know already, don't you? It was the step-aunt of Satoko Hoju-san. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody, and she had lost both of her parents in the accident. She lived in the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I had thought it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, it had snuck all the way to my feet. The one who disappeared the fourth year, by the way, he was Satoko-san's older brother. Well, but just wait a second! It took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. But Uishi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to... You know, I just now realized the detective that looks like he's really going to help us out could be called Ishii. He could be. We have Uishi now. I'm just saying. Why it took me that long to put this to realize this, I don't know. But yeah, The detective is Uishi. Why do I have to bring this up? Because I'm still looking at the current song and the song request list. That's why. Anyway, instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard. But Ishii's right there. Uishi is right there. All the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends. That has to be just a coincidence. Mibara-san, keep it down. Everyone's looking. Mion, Satoko, Rika-chan. So what if they're connected? You're telling me all of my friends. It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Oh, Reina's different, isn't she? Reina isn't connected with the victims at all. Reina Ryugu-san was living in a suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture up until last year. Well, it's true she hadn't directly met any of the victims. He said it in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all the windows. But Reina did that? She broke all the windows at her school? That same silly Reina had... I couldn't even imagine it. It seems that after a 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with dysautonomia. She was given weeks of counseling and medication. I wonder if it's something like a nervous breakdown, like I'm having right now. I'd heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. Neither of those match Reina's easygoing personality. Whoa. Hit my mouse wheel. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all the conversations he had with Reina-san. I'm not completely sure. Let's see. Refers to a disorder of autonomic nervous system function that generally involves failure of the sympathetic or parasympathetic components of the autonomic nervous system. It can be local as reflex. It can be acute and reversible as the Guillain-Barré syndrome, or chronic and progressive. Several common conditions such as diabetes and alcoholism can include that. Also can occur as a primary condition with degenerative diseases such as Parkinson's. Other diseases are generalized, primarily can include multiple system atrophy, familia, hallmarks generalized. Doesn't really say what these symptoms are. Go. What are the symptoms? Symptoms can include the following: resting tachycardia, low blood pressure when standing, constipation, breathing problems, gastroparesis, erectile dysfunction, irregularities with sweating, disturbances of visual field, weakness, breathing difficulties, mood swings, anxiety, fatigue, migraines, tremors, disrupted sleep patterns, frequent urination. Difficult to diagnose because of the range of combinations. Fair enough. It shows up, and quite a bit at that. What did... I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret, could there? Surely not. She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. Why did she mention that? It felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why had Reina spoken of Oyashiro-sama before she even came to Hinamizawa? Seems that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was a ghost, appearing in her house every night. Standing over her pillow, looking down at her. My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told. A while after that, she moved to Hinamizawa. Yeah, that's right. She's not an outsider. Huh? This is fine. According to the residency register, the Ryugu family used to reside in Hinamizawa. Reina-san moved to Ibaraki right after she finished elementary school. My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you'd see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension. Mibara-san, you alright? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I understand Reina. Then, how about the last victim, Tomitaki-san? Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal. All of them. Have you forgotten, Mibara-san? Didn't you all spend the night of the festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves. Now there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned to mush. We should get going. Mibara-san, did you take your afternoon medicine? I'd completely forgotten about the medicine I'd gotten today till Uishi-san said that. I got another glass of water, and we left the shop after I chugged it down. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? It was almost as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. Don't go back, you freaking idiot! The dump. The big jolt was from the difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard Tomitaki-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car. I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the long conversation. Why did you talk to me? I blurted out the question. Really, just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? If we should just stop. Not that! Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Uishi-san was investigating the string of suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Uishi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, how could I, having just moved here, know? By chance, if there was a reason for Uishi-san to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I looked suspicious to Uishi-san, as I was part of Mion's circle of friends. I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring as my grandma wants. I'm 2 days away from retirement. Yes, I know that's a death flag. So while I'm still on the case, I want to bring the truth behind this incident to light. So, Uishi-san, you suspect them, don't you? All of them. Uishi-san didn't really give a response. It felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings. This is mostly my intuition from 30 years on this job. Mibara-san, you're the one in danger. Huh? I wanted to reply with that was absurd, but in my downtrodden state, I couldn't bring myself to say it. I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the Watanagashi next year. I want to settle things. In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Watanagashi, I might be the victim. I've been warned by the chief as well. Each incident, a string of cases have been solved, so don't bring it up again. Or so I was told. This is the pressure that I'm facing. Pressure? From what? Someone in Imazawa. We've arrived. Is this fine? Everything's fine. This is fine. Yes. After some time, this car finally reached its path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears. I won't mind if you just forgot everything I told you today, but I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll end Oyashiro-sama's curse this year. So you're saying I should contact you if anything happens? It's fine. Just contact me when you feel you have to, Maebara-san. I wasn't collected enough to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying it. Be sure to take it easy. I'm sorry for throwing all this at you while you're taking the day off because you're sick. I didn't really give any sort of response. I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now. And we never see him again. The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. It felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Oishi-san was being unfair, telling me I was going to be the next victim, then just saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing, and I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Oyashiro-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it! I don't want to die! For some time I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. Was this a short chapter? Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it's over yet. Nope, no new tips yet. I wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It'd probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. Yeah, it's probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she'd called many times, but I just didn't notice it. Hello, this is the Maebara residence. Oh, he's alive! Hello! This is Mion! How you doing? Is this one of Keiichi's friends? Is this one of Keiichi's friends? Keiichi is resting now, but... Shall I put him on? Huh? Is this his dad? Sorry. Idiot! You fell for it! Huh? Kei-chan! After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except I was suspicious of her, even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me. It only took, 7 full chapters to get into something serious? I'm relieved that you seem well. Rina was really worried, you know. Satoko-chan was happy and said that you got what you deserved. Rika-chan said how unfortunate he's sick. Looks like everyone is making a big deal out of it. Well, you know, so Kei-chan, is now a bad time to come pay you a visit? You're alone in your house, and I'm a possible murderer? Is it a bad time? A visit? Nah, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying. Yet. Unless you plan to fix that for me, then please don't come over. My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them, so I'll bring you some. Hey now, you'll catch my cold. Not to worry, both Reina and I are too stupid to catch a cold. Pardon? See you. Be there in a bit. She hung up cheerfully. Reina's coming too? That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about meeting Reina, but I guess if she was with me on. I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later. How you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest? I did just that. Thank goodness you look well. I was worried. Sorry, I'll be fine by tomorrow. Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Reina looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions. I thought we might hang for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it. Huh? You don't say. It seemed my face appeared a bit sullen. Then here, Keiichi-kun. These are the mochi Mi-chan's grandma made. Reina held out the package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in here. It was quite hefty. Ah, thanks. Send my regards to your grandma, Mion. Yep. Ah, there's one I made in there as well. Wonder if Keiichi-kun can guess which one. Why is yours so special? I'm worried. This is Kei-chan's homework since he missed the club meeting today. And we're gonna die. There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow. Were you checking if I was feeling better, or did you just come here for club activities? Yep, looking fine. I guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow. Man, what are you going to do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans? Mi-chan, we shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. The other people here will get angry. Both of them thought my parents were home. It was because the entranceway was a mess. You're right, let's get going. Ah, by the way, Kei-chan. Yeah? What did you eat for lunch? The sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I'd never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. But why is she asking what I ate for lunch? What she said was so inane, it was almost meaningless. The way she said it, it was almost like she didn't even care about what I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected that I was with Oishi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then they'd read too deep into it. So I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I'd made, there was a pause before they replied. So you ate out for lunch, Keiichi-kun? The glimmer from Reina's eyes had changed at some point as well. Oh God, we're dead! It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me. Well, was it good? Why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone. Almost as if she knew I'd eaten the restaurant in town. Nah, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was. Seems as if you were with a rather austere-looking older guy. Who was he? The package with the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh, Keiichi-kun, who was he? Could it be the person before, I wonder? I could feel the back of my throat going dry. So can I, strangely. I was saying, if you're going with dumbest protagonist ever, that's a list. That's a list. And many of them are found in games we've played here. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything. How do you know that? I took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking. And we're still probably going to eat the goddamn mochi, aren't we? Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know. Mion sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever. So, Kei-chan, what did you talk about? It seems like you got pretty worked up over it, too. We weren't talking about you guys. It didn't have anything to do with you or Reina. Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up, even though nobody asked about that? Oh God, her face with that smile. Reina's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like it was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that. Yeah, the whole, this old man thing. Yeah, that means something now. I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly. Keiichi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down. That's true. You should both head back home. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. A single eye peered in through that narrow slit, and Neon's hawkish gaze peered at me once again. See you, Kei-chan. Yeah. I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow. All right. Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle even after their low laughter died off into the distance, and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Oishi-san and I had talked about? Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard from the beginning when Oishi-san met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Oishi-san about one thing, and they were warning me that that was unnecessary. What was it that Uishi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Oyashiro-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole, as well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Reina, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they were warning me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? Yeah, we need to leave. Like, we should have stayed in town after eating with Oishi. I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare. But for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. Blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down. Calm down! Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Oishi-san was probably because somebody from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the time. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? Yeah, we should leave. We should leave. We should stop trying to fail on purpose, connecting the dots that link everything together. We should realize that we are in intense danger, and we should leave. We should get the fuck out. But we're not gonna get the fuck out because we are anime protagonists and thus we are stupid. They were just curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. That's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Reina. Yeah, we're going to be taking a clue by 4 upside the head, and it will be a big chunk of timber. Probably the same one that Tomitaki was swinging around before he clawed his own throat out. Yeah. It was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Oishi-san, and Reina was just correcting me on that. Yeah, that's what happened. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Reina, and I was just startled by it. That's it. That's the most natural way of thinking about this. There's nothing weird going on here. I felt like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my eyes and nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I've had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. I didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they were really kind to me. Reina was always kind, and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. Mion's also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender, and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, Rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends. But after hearing of the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Oishi and Tomitaki-san, when I was told about Oyashiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Sounds more like a fishing, like somebody just cast a really long fishing line. It really does. Been hearing from Oishi-san that Mion, Reina, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Riichi-san told me all that strange stuff. At the time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. I even shouldn't have heard about the past incidents from Tomataki-san the night of Watanagashi. I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity. I just hadn't... That's right. So that's why they did something to Tomataki-san. That impudent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everybody went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably... Uishi-san as well, for trying to unearth what everybody was warning me was better left unburied. Besides that, he was unforgivable for shooting words that made me doubt the others. Of course a guy like that is going to be... Duh. Both Tomataki-san and Uishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. Those guys should just fall to Ashira-sama's curse and just... It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault, it wasn't their fault! I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling like I had just gotten up, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, bright as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them after all. That reminds me. I need to eat those mochi. I hope I'm able to tell which one Reina made. I remembered the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. But wow, our club did delivery. That was something else. I picked up the package I dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump, red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. There were letters written from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then, they said Reina made one of these. I wonder which one. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what time the person Mion's grandma was, but Reina's had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So well that, just by staring at it, one could tell it stood out. This reminds me of a puzzle. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one's Reina's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said her grandmother made a ton of them and was told to give some out, if I remembered correctly. So that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. And what about Reina? She probably only made 1. So she probably spent quite a bit of time on it. Meaning the one Reina had made was this one, E. For a moment, I thought it may have been a trap Mion laid out as she knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Reina had made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea's ready too. I'll start with the defending champ, Mion's grandma. Let's see. Not bad. The smooth bean paste and soft chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterward also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now, how about Reina's? The creation was so delicate one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. But, well, first, a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Reina the challenger, with the size you just couldn't get enough of. I'd only had one bite of Reina's. I'd probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. I think I've got a hint here. Nom, nom. It seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. What? What was this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then, after sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rain had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act. Then I remembered what I'd taken out of my mouth. At first I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Reina's hair was still quite long. And it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of a metallic sheen on one end of it. Ah yes, there was a hole for where a thread goes through, like it was a sewing needle. Yeah, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. It really did look just like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer, but a voice inside me already knew, and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly, I tasted something metallic and felt a pricking pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger in the back of my throat and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. Then it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. Splat. Plop. Splort. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical pattern of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out to the hall and flew upstairs to my room where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat or warning or reminder. Nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What's happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of these questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Reina and Mion and others, they consider me an enemy. And they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless marsh. That happened. Yeah. New tips! So this means end of another chapter. Achievement unlocked. Hard to swallow. Well played. Well played indeed, game. Oh, we got a new page. Okay. What's a drug that makes you commit suicide? So apparently, Reina or Mion or both tried to kill us by sticking needles in the mochi. Yeah, that's something. Let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves? Not directly, no. That's quite a roundabout response. You're saying there's one that does it indirectly? Something that puts you into a suicidal mental state? Something like that? It's hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressed state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower to commit suicide, nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That has an opposite effect, filling the victim with confidence and making them feel as though they're walking on air. Thus, they do not commit suicide. That's interesting. Either state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so. There's a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower, and their body moves as they desire. I see. So it means they gain the willpower to commit suicide. That's how it goes. That's why patients are giving sedatives during that time to keep them from acting on their impulses. The Mustomataki bipolar. People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like, say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm as though going through withdrawal is completely different. Tomataki's death wasn't civilized, so one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide. Well, there are reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. Barbiturate overdoses are also reported to cause erratic behavior. That's a sleep aid. There were no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think of is some sort of illness. Something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. But Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The disease exhibited none of them. I wonder, is there something that could happen more spontaneously? Something that fits this case and would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden. Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain's out of whack due to a physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it can also be caused by physical trauma, encephalitis, a stroke, or even tumors. Basically, without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry, could have hit his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility. Could you explain it to me in simpler terms? Basically, he knocked his noggin in the brawl, and that made him go haywire. This lady didn't have any intent to kill. Just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change. The two plump men laughed hoarsely. But of course, it's not like that. Undoubtedly. If it was habitual drug use, if it was something mental, The deceased body holds the key. How are things on your end? Goodness, look at the time. I need to get back soon or Kuma-chan will get angry with me. Yeah. Good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. Kuma-chan. Could that be Mono Kuma-chan? Threat. Huh? Those guys just now. They had National Diet badges. Then it's Prefectural Assembly member and City Councilor Sonozaki. That's interesting. The Prefectural Assembly member and City Councilor are related. It's dirty is what it is. Shouting out each other's name during elections. While one is up for election, the other one holds an assembly and they double up their campaign activities. Blatantly. I don't know much about this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election? As long as they have no prior consultation, there are no restrictions on their political activities. Kuma-chan, the investigation division is going to be pretty rough for you. You should at least brush up on election policies. I'm not suited for the intelligence division, because I'm dumb. There was Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki. Also, the mayor of Hinamizawa. All of them involved with the Sonozaki family. What crap. Looks like they were seen off by the department chief and deputy chief. It came to me. That night, when the chief invited me along to get some Odin, I thought that was it. You have a lot of connections, so you might have heard something. Did you? Nope. Not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and fish cake. A counselor barked at me in the police chief's stead. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take him to the bowl. Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't even handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza. A petition with your name came up regarding how the investigation of the Hinamizawa incident is being handled. Goodness me. I've not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? I already got my hands full with Tomataki's death, actually. Really? If that's true, then there's no problem. There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink. Ooh, that was quite the feast. This month has been a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet's been feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. Nah, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you. Haven't been doing well there lately. Haven't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi! I'm going by train. The police chief's taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right before retirement with a DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were already goo. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the police chief's address. Well, see you again tomorrow. Happy New Year. Uishi-san. Yeah. The past incidents have all been closed. Stop lumping them all together. Those villagers half believe it's really a curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're going to be retiring next year, aren't you? Weren't you going to pay off your mortgage with your pension and move up to Hokkaido with your mom? Mother pines to return to the land of her birth. It's the least I can do. And the pension, well, it'll let me enjoy myself in Susukino. The police chief may issue a special retirement salary raise, he says. A public service pension is calculated based on their monthly salary. So if you were to get a raise right before your retirement, your bonus to your salary would be inflated, and you get a heavy surplus of funds. That tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not a custom that's thought of highly. The difference between the bonus and the pension is quite a bit. I'd expect nothing less exemplary from our egghead chief, but, well, they say our salary is compensation for our hard work, but really it just has to do with the passage of time. That's not something I can laugh at, but I'll laugh through it anyway. I don't think it's anything exemplary, but given how hard you work, it's not odd that you're getting that much of a pension. I like to get that much myself. If I can get it, well, of course I'd want it. You'll get it. You're an adult, after all. Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the chief's conversation a bit rudely. It looked like the chief still had something to say, but he smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared among the sea of lights. Oh man, I wonder if I really can repay that loan. So, that happened. And we have reached the end of chapter 9. So things are going well. This is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Nothing untoward here happening. Nothing untoward. Yep, there are 15 minutes left. And we are completely and totally boned. Everything's fine. Perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong. Not at all. So since we have 15 minutes left and you are still here, I will ask you a question, Lady Mage. When you've played Betrayal at House on the Hill, how have you played it? Have you had like a physical copy of the game, or have you played it in tabletop sim, or anything like that? Physical? Okay. Ah, you own one. Ah. So anyway, since we still have some time, I don't intend to actually play it right now. Well, sucking as a traitor is largely dependent on which scenario you end up in. You know what I mean? Very largely dependent on which scenario you end up in. Because some of those scenarios can just be freaking unfair. They really can.